Dave, you there? Dave is my marketing director, and I'm just looking to see whether he recorded it. All right, so OKE is having troubles. I don't know what to say about it because it made a top here in 2014. It made a top in 2018. Tried again, and I don't know that there's any reason why we should think it's going to get through this time. So I don't particularly care for the stock, and and I definitely would have given you a counterintuitive buy somewhere around here on this stock. And I'm not going to go into the proprietary reasons why that was a beautiful counterintuitive setup, a perfect one really, but it was a buy somewhere down around 54, 55. But up here, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, I can always tell you something as far as getting a fix on this stock short term, but it just looks to me like it's rolling over. If we were to, let's take a look at the stochastic, the weekly stochastic. And all right, so all right, well, this shows a downtrend likely to continue. We have, well, we had a divergence here upward. It got less oversold as it made a lower bottom, but the rally that it extrapolated from that advantageous situation is not much. So I still don't like the stock. And if we put the stochastics on a weekly chart, I still don't like it. You've got a real divergence here. You've got a price top here and a higher price peak there, but slightly lower stochastic peak. So I think it's going to come down hard. It may rally a little bit because it's almost in the oversold zone. So it's kind of a mixed picture here stochastically where it is right now. But once this thing gets overbought, if it can, look out below on the next move down. I think it's really going to come down hard. So that's it. We've got 30 people in the room, and it seems like I've run out of requests. I'm not quite sure why. I've had requests from 5 people or so. I'm not sure why the other 25 came, but all right, we've got a couple more now. Dave, let me ask you again if you're there. Did you get a recording of the earlier part of this session? All right, I don't know. I'm still Dave testing 1, 2, 3. Are you out there? Do you copy? Do you read me? All right, let me get back on a regular chart here for NTNX, whatever that is. Nutanix Inc. I'd be interested in finding out what that company does, Mark. So if you just want to post a little note on what their business is, that might make it more interesting. All right, so this thing has come down like a ton of bricks, but all right, so the only real, let's see here. This is a true impulse leg, even though we've got a triple bottom there. And I would say it's not a great sign that this thing didn't hold the D target. I know it doesn't look like too much of an overshoot. It's less than $1, but it's enough to make me be a little bit suspicious about any rally. I would think that a rally in this stock is going to be corrective rather than impulsive, but it would take a heck of a lot to get it impulsive on the weekly chart. So it's kind of a buy down here anyway. And I'm going to do a reverse ABC. No, actually, I'm not going to put that out there. We're working on a new entry tactic, and it's definitely one of the it's definitely in a category of proprietary secrets. But you can be buying the stock down here, not on the weekly chart. We really don't see any patterns we can work with. But if we drop down to the lesser charts, and let me also get a fix on this lesser low target that we probably hit. All right, so yeah, I think it's going to sink to 2169. and it would be a short at the red line, again with the stop loss a third of the differential between the red line and here, about $3.50, 60 cents, somewhere in that range. And let me ask you again, what does this company do, Mark? Cloud computing, I see. All right, big business, and as I understand it, Amazon so totally dominates the cloud service business that the number two, Microsoft, is like miles below Amazon. But the way I understand it, there is literally trillions of dollars of business to do in this cloud service thing, and so that you don't even have to worry about getting crushed by Amazon. All right, so what can we? I'm not quite sure why this company is getting crushed by Amazon. Maybe they're doing something wrong, but it doesn't look good. I just see more sinkage here, but maybe a little buoyancy because we are at that D target of the bigger pattern we looked at. All right, and Dave, let me ask you again. Did you record any of this? The beginning that I missed? All right, let's take a look at some other stuff. Sam, S-A-M, that's my son's name. Boston Beer. Oh, Samuel Adams, I see. All right, so it's amazing how every reference you see to Budweiser these days is Budweiser to has been. And I couldn't figure that out before. I couldn't figure out why, with all these great craft beers, anybody would even think of drinking Budweiser beer. It's like you may as well drink Rolling Rock or Iron City or whatever your local favorite is. But apparently it's starting to catch up with Budweiser, so that every reference to Budweiser has Budweiser beer as kind of a has-been, that nobody really drinks it anymore. So that sounds more credible. And I guess but of course, any craft beer that we see that's on the NYSE is going to be owned by Budweiser anyway. So they're sort of covering their bases. So you have to be careful about your craft beers. As long as they keep the taste up, I guess it doesn't matter who owns it. But this is big beer and Bev's way of keeping the beverage category growing, even though it's shrinking or it's atomizing into 50,000 different things. The millennials tend to like things in 50,000 different flavors, so that's why we're getting. Well, we're going to have peach flavored bourbon before long. I know you can have peach hints, peach accents in bourbon, but it's going to be a millennial thing when we have bourbon that really tastes like good honest peaches. Or dishonest bourbon. All right, so all right, Sam Adams. Just to get back to our analysis here, it's just kind of making its way up to that 400 target, and I don't see why not. As far as buying it, it's a little bit of a trick. Everybody's bullish on the stock, so you can't blame it for taking wildly evasive moves to make sure that just merely being right doesn't make you easy money. We all put everything we've got into Sam Adams right here, Boston Beer, and just ride it to 400 and we all get rich. It will get to 400, but just not in a way that will benefit those of us who know that, who play it like it's a sure thing. Or no, I guess if we played it like it was a sure thing, we just buy here and forget about it until it gets up to that 400 target. At 400, I don't know what Boston Beer's problem is going to be, but it's not going to get through that without quite a struggle. All right, OIH is Van X Vectors Oil Services. I've sort of lost touch with oil services. I spent quite a bit of time in Houston over the last couple of years, and the Houston Chronicle really covers the energy sector well enough that you want to read about it because you feel like you know it. You feel like you know what's going on. But here, I cannot quite see what I don't know what the problem is. I mean, it's one thing. I guess we have sinking oil prices now, and we're once again worrying about the glut. Everybody's worried because we need higher oil prices to keep the stock market up. All right, so 1208 is not a bad place to jump in with a 10 or 15 cent stop loss to test the water here, because I like where that midpoint pivot is. But if and when it breaks 1208, I don't know what this says about the oil patch, but we could be headed down to as low as $5.48. Although in this case, I would take a hard look if and when it gets down to that secondary pivot at $8.78. All right, BYND, is that bed knobs, broomsticks, and beyond? Oh, I forgot, Mark, you're the Beyond Meat guy. All right. Well, I'm not even. What can I say about this? It's just some nutty move, and that's the way it goes. There was an interesting story in a journal either yesterday or today about these meats. Someone posted in the chat room that Beyond Meat is not good for you, but in this Wall Street Journal story, I didn't see anything that made Beyond Meat unhealthy. I mean, it bleeds like real beef, but apparently they get the blood from an extract of beets. But and the story was probably the best PR that Beyond Meat and the artificial burgers could have made, because it was just a point that it made through anecdote and a lot of quotes was, hey, you really can't tell the difference. And they even went to some vegetarians who say, well, yeah, I don't really like Beyond Meat's not vegetarian burgers because they taste too much like meat, and I've kind of weaned myself off meat. So there were so many quotes in that story that came at this idea that they've really got a great product. It's a very good substitute for meat. And again, there was nothing in there to indicate there are any unhealthy ingredients in it, other than perhaps when you put it on a charcoal grill, the smoke itself. And I don't know whether you get molecular mutations in the vegetable matter from the charcoal broiling, but it looks like a pretty good product to me, and it's actually starting to catch on commercially, where some of the chains. I don't know about Smashburger, but some of the chains are starting to serve this burger up. So Mark asked, another Mark asked, did I cover crude oil? I did not. So let's take a look at I was looking at crude as a possible trade. This is my actual trading screen, and I've got two positions on right now, or let's see, I am short the NQ based on a reverse ABC pattern, and I am short the Dow. And I have to say, yeah, that's why I was in there griping today about we've got a couple of oil tankers in the Strait of Hormuz that get torpedoed, and the stock market is up. That's so sick. It's so absurd. It's hard to believe. All right, so I'm looking here, and I do not have anything going on in crude. If it's white, I really couldn't find a trade to do. And the fact that this thing's getting such little mileage on a flaming oil tanker in the Persian Gulf it's beyond belief, really. It tells you how sick this market is with buying fever. All right, so I don't know about crude. It's in a bear market. That's all I can say. And when you have a day like today where crude is going to finish up, who knows how much? Let's see. It's up now 98 cents after being up 53.45, about $2 and 30 some cents. If it finishes close to even, you better get out of the way because it's coming down hard. If crude can't make any headway on a day when we've got pictures of flaming Strait of Hormuz oil tankers, then I don't know what the problem is. Request for VXX, and I only trade this on rare occasions, and this is not one of them. I would be willing to look at buying this little piece of garbage down at 25.81, the D target here. So just keep that number in mind. That's where I might take a look at it, at least for buying some call options. But you shouldn't even care about this thing otherwise. No, that's completely wrong. Hang on. That's not even a valid pattern. Let me get a good one. All right, this isn't a valid pattern either. So come up here and maybe 25.89, but I don't see anything. There's no clarity here for actually bottom fishing anything. So I would, if I were you, I would say don't put up a VXX chart for the next year or so, because there ain't nothing here. Hecla Mining. I'm trying to remember this. The symbol is H. I thought. All right, so don't be coy there, DW. What's the symbol for Hecla again? It's all right, HL. All right, so we've got something pretty going on here, right here. And I'm not quite sure why I'm seeing this, but virtually every stock, every time frame, every sector, every pattern up, every pattern down, every single one is giving us almost D. It doesn't matter what it is, what vehicle, what time frame, and I just I hate that. All I can tell you is it's going to come down again and bottom at $1.09. And I'm not going to chisel that in stone because there is a 1 in a million chance that this is it for Hecla. It's made its final bottom and it's just going to keep going. But if you believe that, I've got a bridge to sell you. WPM, Wheaton Precious Metals. I don't know what the heck they're doing. I mean, they're not doing too badly considering. Good core samples, I guess, right? Drilling core samples in Fort Knox, coming up empty, of course. All right, so it's at the midpoint pivot of this this very in-your-face ABC pattern, and struggling. But all I can say is it needs to pop through and close above that midpoint for a couple days to have a good shot of getting to P2, 24.76, the midpoint pivot. Request for CBS. Amazing that a network, TV network stock is still even in the race when you consider. I mean, have you tried to watch CBS lately? All right, so what I would do with this stock, I'd take this pattern right here, and if it gets to that P, buy it with a tight stop loss. If it goes a little lower, you can use this low here to A, B, C, counterintuitive the pattern. It could take off from here, but if we're going to do any buying, we may as well do the buying where it's opportune. And I don't see it as being anything close to opportune in this flux that we've had over the months of April, May. DG, Dollar General Corp. All right, this has got also crystal clear clarity for purposes of getting a target. Well, there's no top on this. It's going to go to $1,000 a share because it's blowing through crystal clear tops. I could put another pattern on this, and I'm not quite sure. I mean, this stock, it reminds me a little bit of the old Motel 6 story. You know, you couldn't stay at a Motel 6 without getting, at the very least, a rodent-infested room and you know, a whorehouse going on in the room next to you, and you get robbed in a parking lot. I mean, those were the stories that were coming out on Motel 6. But like all good, they must have had good crisis management on their PR team, because the PR team said just lay low for a few years and people will forget. So with Dollar General, you know, we've had these stories. There was one about how essentially the ghetto diets are so heavily reliant on things that are priced $1 or less and sit there on Dollar General stores on shelves, and this was the competition for some of the grocery stores. So I mean, I guess whatever I could say about it, the bottom line is still doing fine, and this stock is unreal. Um, I'm going to put up a weekly chart so that maybe I can project a D target, but it's blowing away these daily targets with the greatest of ease. Well, let's even do a monthly. I don't know what to, I mean, all right, so you wind up, here's what you wind up doing when you get frustrated. You got to go all the way up there just to get something that's reasonable. And I would give you minimum upside on this little piggy to 150.56. I've got a request from Frank for AYX. And let's come back to the weekly chart. They must be a supplier to Dollar General, right? What could you tell me what Alteryx Inc. does? I would appreciate that. All right, so the pattern that instantly smacks me in the eye is right here. And it had no trouble with that one. So we need to go up a notch to here. And just the way it hasn't really blown through the red line, the midpoint pivot, so it still has that to deal with. And it looks like a good shot for 131.19. If you want to learn how to buy it, take the Hidden Pivot course. Great bargain going on right now, by the way, for $997. You get the Hidden Pivot course, a year of tutorials, a year's subscription to Rick's Picks. So if you're interested at all in that, go to rickackerman.com/web deal. rickackerman.com/web deal. I've never made a better offer. The package is really designed to give you all of the things you need to become a Hidden Pivot ace. And all right, so anyway, that was pursuant to my talking about a mechanical buy. If we get up into this range of about 113, 114, 115, and it pulls back to the green line, I would call that a good mechanical buy. 93.31 stop loss below here. That's big stop loss, 13 points or so. There are easier ways. We have other actual entry techniques that we would tend to use. Microsoft from Ralph. Now, just tell me what it is that Microsoft does. I've hated Microsoft for years, but I'm finally loosening up because I'm becoming a somewhat satisfied user of their Office 365 package. They keep everything up to date, but the main thing is you can call them and get tech support, and that was a big thing for me. All right, Dave. All right, so Dave, you started this from the beginning. Brian says no, it was not recording. Well, one of you is right. I hope it's you, Dave. All right. So anyway, Microsoft, they finally have good support and a product that updates itself. Like every other company on planet Earth, they've gone to a service model instead of upgrading, selling you every couple of years on a new software, a new version. They just keep updating you automatically, and you keep paying automatically. But I would say it's a satisfactory arrangement as far as I'm concerned. All right, so and Microsoft is, I'll mention this again, it's a good stock to play if we're looking for jackpot bets, because in its quiet way, it's just as strong, it's as high beta as any bullish stock that we're going to hitch a ride on. So on Fridays, if you want to make a bullish bet, you could do worse than this stock. And I'm not quite sure what to. It's blown away every reasonable target I can find on a weekly chart. Um, this is not the kind of point A low that you want to uh, associate with as big a pullback as we have there, but I'm afraid that's all we've got as a minimum upside target. So I'll give you 137.22 at a minimum, but what a monster this stock is. All right, we could do it. There's one other thing we can do, and it's simply, I don't know, we'll take the one off there. And this is not bad either. If you want to go above 137, this pattern will give you 148 easy. And easy, once you're past the red line, 133.61. So look, we've got to kind of follow the stock for a bit to see how it does at that red line before we do anything. Take a look. Laurel wants to look at the euro US dollar. Well, I've drawn a line here. You can see I'm thinking my frame of reference is bearish, but I haven't traded the euro in a while. I just don't get any clear vibes from it. I'm bearish, but it's got this big impulse leg, bullish impulse leg there, and there's a lot of cross currents. So what I might do in here, a trade that I would actually look at, is right here. This impulse, this pattern has features that I like. So I think the breakdown of the P says that it's going to get at least to P2, but maybe to D. So I'm bearish, and I would be looking really for a way to short the thing. It would be a short if it pops to the green line. It's a nice looking mechanical setup. So if the euro should rally to $1.15.37 or so, you should think about shorting it up there. You can get shorted here or anywhere if you want to work at it, but I'm trying to give you kind of one size fits all. So I need to rally up to the green line to get us in. Warren Buffett wants to look at Maxar. What do they do, Maxar? What is their business? Maxar. All right, so I'd be interested in knowing what Maxar Technology Limited. If you put these stocks up that nobody knows, nobody recognizes, I'd appreciate it if you would just mention what these companies do. Maybe I'm just ignorant. I know what I know, but just it makes it more interesting if you can tell us what these companies do. Just because you're following them doesn't mean everybody's familiar with them. All right, so whatever they're doing, they ain't doing too well at it. Well, I mean, here it's a bankruptcy risk. All right, and is Maxar, I don't know, Laurel, if you're answering the question about Maxar, but you say that it is some new seismic that can find oil anywhere. That sounds pretty cool. So is that Maxar? Because I would think any company with a story like that is, oh no, is going higher. All right, you say GMO. It's a GMO company. Which one? All right. So Maxar, no bottom here, Warren, and I'm not. I hope you don't have Berkshire too heavily invested in the shares of this company. I don't. I'm guessing that the reason this stock was just like a ghost for years and years and years, and now the bars get a little fleshier, is that it became. Did Warren? No, there's no way Warren Buffett would be in a stock like this. But I don't know why in 2017. Just tell me what this company does, please. All right, well, let's move on to PTEN. Fuel is the section in cron. Yes, fuel is. Can you translate that into out of cuneiform there, Laurel? PTEN is Patterson UTI Energy. I don't know. It doesn't look great, Lauren. I have to say, GMO is General Molly Inc. And it doesn't look so great either. 37 cents. I'm not sure I can tell you much about that. Elliot, I see you posted here 18 times, but is there a stock request there? All right. Request for Watt. Again, what does Watt do, please? September 107 puts. I don't know what you're talking about, Laurel. If you could translate that out of Sanskrit, I'd be thrilled. Maxar also 3 billion in debt, whatever they do. About oil, if you guys could just put up a symbol and some idea what the company does, that's all that I need. I'm not trying to hold a conversation with any of you on this this chat text, so don't talk to me. Just put a stock there. Tell me what it is, and we can do it, please. Thank you. Caesars, I've completely. It was a counterintuitive buy. And I've completely lost track of the casino business. Coming from Atlantic City, I used to have an interest in it, but not now, really. All right, so it's going to at least 1040, which is not too far above where it's trading now. There was not much money to be made there. There was a very good counterintuitive buy signal on the 1st of January, and you'd still be in there looking to collect. I suppose on an annualized basis, you're making money here, but all right, so it's going to 1040 at a minimum. We'd have to see what it does at 1040 before we start thinking maybe it's going higher. All right, here it is. So Maxar has some contracts with NASA, just got great, but what do they do, please? Thank you. Again, Laurel, no GMO is beyond meat. I don't know if you were to translate that sentence literally, no GMO was beyond meat. With no punctuation in it, no commas, it would mean that there has not been any genetically modified whatever that was beyond meat. So I need actual sentences here, English language sentences with, or just as I said, symbol and what the company does. That's what I'm looking here for. All right, wireless charging technologies. When you post your explanation of what these companies do, repeat the symbol, please. Thank you. All right, here, good. William, you've got it just right. He says Maxar Technologies is a space technology company headquartered in Westminster. That was about like 5 miles from where I lived in Colorado, specialized in manufacturing, communication, Earth observation radar, and on-orbit servicing satellite products, and related services. All right, so let's take a look again at that Maxar then. And, well, it's like a high-tech idea has been, I don't know what the story was, why it was strong at one point, but, you know, it was $80 once, it's $6 now. So whatever they're doing, it's not working out that well for them. We have a note here, a watt is wireless charging technologies. Oh, I see. All right. So William, and this is good. This is the kind of commentary that I need to make this presentation more interesting. Maxar's recent re-entry chute didn't work. that's never a good thing. Huh. All right. Well, we do literally live or die by how well our re-entry chutes work. All right. All right. So. Okay, so I think that's it. We've got about 20 some people in the room who were just here to watch. I'll give you one last chance to call out your stop. If you want me to look at a particular stock, ETF, commodity, I didn't get many requests for soybeans actually. I already looked at CBS, Robert. UUP. Invesco DB US dollar bull. So I guess this is some way to play the dollar then. All right, so Allen UUP dollar bull. Okay, so I've been bullish on the dollar forever, and I see higher dollar forever, and I couldn't possibly be wrong. So, and I always love it when someone is out there in the New York Times at a journal or some learned journal of currencies and talking about, or energy, talking about how uh, the oil producers are going to start demanding payment for oil in gold or something other than dollar. And the one point I've been making for 20 years is that there's no way on earth that anybody wants to have to pay for oil with real money. So that's why oil settles up in dollars. It's the only currency that scales to the size of the oil market, and all the players, including the ones that insist that they're going to demand gold, are perfectly happy to accept dollars in payment. So they like to rattle their sabers, as the saying goes, but it's a lot of crap about. Nobody, the world can't turn its back on the dollar. They're stuck with it. It's the only thing that works, given the size of the shell game that happens in the financial sector. So whatever reason you're hearing for weakness in the dollar, it's wrong. Period. And yeah, we did have our. I'm going to say we had. I'm not going to say we had our moments when it was coming down. It was simply correcting down to there. Um, that's interesting. It was kind of a counterintuitive short at that high off that point A right there, but it's making up for lost time now. And it looks, huh. This is kind of a phony pattern that I've drawn. Let's see, 2683 versus 2683. Ha ha. That's a global joke there that they ran it right up to that high. If I had one more tick, one more penny, I could say that the pattern I've drawn is legitimate, but it's not. We needed for that high to exceed that one by a single tick. But I'm going to, all right. The dollar looks great. GPS, is that a stock that you want me to look at? Oh, Gap. All right. Gap is, I guess, Gap is another company like, someday Coca-Cola, not quite, but like Gap is mentioned as a has-been these days, as a company that's on its way out of business. Hard to believe trends change that much, that something as basic as Gap clothing could go out of style. What do they make? Like T-shirts and khaki pants? So I don't know, but it looks like it's going to 878 here, or worse if you take this bigger pattern. We're going to get a reaction rally off this low. So I would use this A, B, C, wherever it happens, to play a counterintuitive rally in GPS. It's going to get one, a dead cat bounce. But the bigger picture, this company, the stock, what you hear, what you read, what you see in the chart here suggests that Gap is on its way out. All right, the dollar Canadian pairs. We can come down to here for reasons I'm not going to go into. And looks like minimum dollar versus Canadian dollar will buy 1.41 Canadians when it gets to that red line, loonies. And I'm not in love with this A right here relative to the major BC, but it'll have to do. At a minimum, I guess if we take that as our A, if we do this conservatively, this works. I think we've been through the P enough that we're liable to see, I think we're likely to see more appreciation of the dollar against the loonie to $1.41. US dollar buys $1.41 Canadian. VSLR solar stock. Vivint Solar Inc. And just coming off the bottom there. Weekly. All right, so all the rallies since 2016 has not taken out a single external peak, unless you count this little guy here. This was the first sign that something was going on, but all the rest of it is just building up torque for a shot at this external peak right there. So there's really not much you can say. I mean, it looks bullish. It looks like it's in recovery mode, and if we take this illegitimate total bastard ABC pattern, it gives us 8.29 to shoot at. Request for VRA, Vera Bradley Inc. Vera Bradley Inc. And they are a women's retailer. Tough field to be in. I mean, the fashion industry is so tricky these days. I don't know how anybody makes money. I had a friend that he was a market maker on the Pacific Exchange, and the family was in the schmata business. They made clothing, sportswear, and things. But when he left the family business, he was going to the high-end fashion shows, and he was knocking off. And we're talking about very, very not much lead time. He was knocking off some of the high-end fashions, essentially manufacturing them within a week of when he'd seen them on the runway. I'm not even sure how that business is doing these days. This was a great counterintuitive short somewhere around here, but right now, a pretty mixed picture. It could kind of hack around here for a long time, but this is a good legitimate impulse leg. So to give it the benefit of the doubt, I would say we'll get to 1304, and then let's take a look and see how well it does handling that that midpoint resistance. UPS. Let's see. I'm hearing the warning that thunder and lightning here. I live on a golf course, and even though it's sunny, we've been having amazing thunderstorms here. I did go over to the do's and don'ts when there's thunder and lightning, of how to avoid getting struck by lightning, or for that matter, how to get struck by lightning if you feel like it's time to check out. Um, don't be near water. Don't hide under some underhang. Don't be on a motorcycle on I-95 in Florida. Things like that. It's a lot of these things are common sense, sort of like Lenny Bruce's idea of how when swimming in shark-infested waters, the first do of this little manual that was put out in Lenny Bruce's time, first how to deal with that is first warning: get out of the water. And in Lenny's telling of it, the next step was to try to ward off the shark with what, like the stump of the other leg that it didn't get. Anyway, that was I can't. That may have been his album, Lenny Bruce, Sick Comedian. All right, so UPS is. It doesn't look good. I mean, we're in a long bull market for UPS, but I think it's getting pretty heavy here. And if it does any more sinkage, the minimum downside here would be to 87.63. And at that point, when it ties with this low here, it's going to be a nice setup for a counterintuitive buy. So you got a good rally coming up, even if this thing takes a bearish header down to 87.63. Let's actually look at it. If we're thinking, I like the stock, I'm bullish on it. If you're bullish on it, the only bullish pattern you can sink your hooks into is this one right here, and this is a total. This pattern is so phony it ought to get arrested, but we're desperate. So just to see something that looks bullish, I'll give it a 105.22 minimum upside. But again, I'm not giving any guarantees with that number. It was a counterintuitive buy. Well, where it was 98.94. So I think it'll get to 105 on this move, but I'd be pretty careful when it gets there. Soybeans, your symbol is not my symbol, Laurel. July beans, and I looked this morning with my trading partner at soybeans, and I think it was, let's see, was it soybeans or wheat? Maybe it was corn. And what I saw, no, maybe it wasn't corn. I was looking for a pullback to get long in corn, but it's not pulling back enough to give me a good mechanical entry. But I was looking at wheat, maybe this was it. The idea was that the wheat put up such a, let's think that it was wheat. Wheat put up such a perfect buy signal, or maybe it was a sell signal, that the fact that it didn't do what it was supposed to do, the grains really have me skittish. I tend to think of them as just a different animal. In their way, they're even nastier than even the S&Ps, because I see things happen on the wheat chart where, in retrospect, I'm thinking it couldn't have been a more perfect trade setup. And then it goes, oh, here it was. Yeah, here it is. It was, I'm trying to do a reverse ABC buy on this. So the initial pattern, the initial low is here. I love that low just for getting long at the green line. But the little sucker does not quite get to the red line before it stops us out there. And yeah, the second time was a charm, but I wouldn't be feeling quite so charming that second time around after being had on this first low. So again, this is, I couldn't come up with anything that looks any prettier than this for buying. Oh, here it is, but for buying the green line, but it failed. It didn't get to red. It just stopped us out there. So that kind of spooks me when you see something as perfect as this, a beautiful buy signal with that green line, and it doesn't even work. It has to take you out with that 1 penny, this niggling little. Anyway, all right, enough of that. So I'm not trading the grains much. So to come back to your question, Laurel, and look at soybeans. I would say, well, I'm not going to tell you. You seem to trade everything, but I would stay out of the way of this little son of a bitch. And let's see. Even here, if you're going to do it, you got to do the fake trade where we don't have this high exceeding the external there. We've got, all right, so we start with a phony impulse leg and we do this and it looks to me like it wants to go to 925 and 3/4. But I'll say it one more time. Even when I look at charts in retrospect, and you know how good we are when we're trading things that have already happened. Oh, here's one I could have caught, and there's a great trade. I'm looking at it in retrospect and thinking this thing absolutely would have had me. I mean, it would have whipped me all over the place, and that's with perfect hindsight. I'm saying that. In other words, I'm looking and I'm thinking I can't come up with a way to make that to have made money on that, no matter how clever I can imagine myself to have been. All right, so let's see. This is CenturyLink, and I can't remember I guess they're what are they, a telephone company or wait? CenturyLink had a big ad at Coors Field, I think. I think they did. All right, so slow boat to China, um, phone internet, yeah. So I think CenturyLink used to take out a big ad at Coors. Since I left Colorado, I haven't seen it in a while. But I would say minimum downside here to 759. Not too good. I'd start believing a turnaround if it exceeds this high right here at the number is $13.20. Um, all right, we've got the same people with requests here, and I've done about 10 or 15 of their requests. And if there are some of you lurkers in here, um, you know who you are, and you'd like to see your particular stock, let me know. ODFL, Old Dominion Freight Trucking. All right. I'm not quite sure what to tell you about this. I think it looks like a long slog to nowhere. I mean, when you come right down to it, the stock's trading where it was at the beginning of 2018. It's had its swings, but basically gone nowhere. Zillow real estate brokering. All right, well, this is good and legit. I like this pattern. And Zillow certainly has a following. They do. It's so amazingly useful for realtors, home buyers, home sellers that I think its worst days are behind it. Although, why the heck didn't it get to that D target if that's true? Well, I don't know. I'm still using 49.33 as a target. I guess it just sort of bogged down in all of this supply here. But let's take a look at it when it gets to 49.33, which it will. If you want to buy it, you'll have to figure out how because it doesn't look easy. Uh, let's see. McKesson Corp. And this high did get past that external. We'd like to be using a one-off A for this, but I don't see one. So I'll use this pattern. And it was a maybe old style mechanical buy right here. You waited for quite a while, more than a month, for this thing to take off, and you might have gotten stopped out right there. It looks like it's very close to stopping out. Actually, let me calculate it to see for my own interest whether you would have been stopped out. So we're buying the pullback to 126.05, and we're trying to get to 141.57. All right, so if we're right, we're going to make ourselves $15.52 on this stock, and times a third is 517. So we subtract that from where we're getting in, 126.05. Reverse Polish notation. All right, so our stop loss was at 120 and 80 120 and 87 cents, and the low there was, well, we didn't get stopped out. It held the position. So the old style mechanical buy would have worked there, even though I don't know whether you or I would have had the guts to ride it all the way down here for what eventually became a promising move to that 141.57 target. But that's where I think it's going. Disney, my least favorite company in the world, a by the numbers purveyor of swill, makes all its movies by focus group, buys any company that could conceivably compete with it, and now it's somewhat in over its head in the streaming bit. Well, Disney's never going to be in over its head producing content, but they might have to step up their game to produce content that's on a level with the stuff that Netflix is doing. So all Disney does is produce its bean counters, essentially script every movie. All right, so we're up here and there, and Disney is getting second wind here. The way it moved through the green line doesn't leave too much doubt about a further move to 148.08. Can you look at Boeing? Yes, I can. Nice to have you here, Ray. Thank you for the request. Boeing is a global disgrace, really. The fact that the scandal gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and all the stock does is hold its place until, everything, it all blows over. But they're going to have class action suit here that may be even bigger than Boeing. I don't know. I guess the lawyers have already worked it out. They already know what the number is going to be when they settle with the families of 362 dead from those two collisions. So maybe the lawyers have already, maybe this 347 price factors the entire cost of the 737, the shelving of that plane, and all that. But I'm just well, this is the power of institutional money. When these guys decide to hang together, look, guys, we don't sell this stock, okay? This is what happens. But you can see, it's as the scandal is deepened, it ratcheted to a lower level, and I can't say that there's going to be any further revelations about Boeing that will take it into another consolidation at a lower level. But all you can expect here is the stock is biding its time for a pop to 369, where it would be a mechanical buy. I'm sort of curious myself about where the options trade, because when a stock's doing like this, it's obviously a lucrative business to be selling straddles. So if I just want to see what the at the money straddle is trading for in Boeing. The stock has a historical volatility of 27. The at the money's 350s are trading with implied volatilities of yeah, of 5 times, more than 5 times. No, wait, that's not right. No, 23. Okay, all right. So this reflects the fact that that everybody's been selling straddles to death. The historical volatility is 28, and we've pushed the at the money straddle down to a 23 volatility. So it is 11, 12% underpriced there. And sometimes when something is so underpriced, it's telling you that don't buy it. There's a reason it's underpriced, and that's the way I would look at this stock. So you can still butterfly the thing and sell the straddles like everybody else, but you just you can butterfly it by going below the strike 340 and above the strike 360, or you can elongate it with a condor. You can, with a condor, you can create a pretty wide range of prices over which you'll be profitable, although not quite as profitable as you would if you're limiting it to a to a $10 butterfly. So the butterfly, the 350, if you think the stock is within by Friday, well, it's basically all you're getting is it's like selling a put here. But for 375, the call premium should be covered by, it should cover what you pay for the 360. So, all right, so we'll sell the butterfly. The spread here is huge. So we'll sell the puts for 390. We'll sell the calls for 60. So we're selling 350 fly for 450, and we pay 4 cents for these puts, I mean calls, and for the 340 put, we pay 22 cents, 27. So, all right, you may as well just sell puts, almost sell naked puts. Forget about the butterfly, because your risk there is 450 minus about 25 cents, 4.25. So your risk is 575 on that butterfly to make yourself not much more than that, or actually not that much. So it's a lousy bet right now. But if I'm not going to go out to the next month, but you get the idea by now. All right. So, all right, enough said about Boeing. Laurel, this will be your 15th request for today, but Crown Corp owns it. Golden Crown Corp owns it, BA and LMT. I don't know what that means. Gold Crown used to make the best pocket billiard table. I mean, it was just an AMF billiard table was the best. So I'm assuming you're talking about the maker of billiard tables there, Lauren, and they own it, meaning Boeing. They own, this maker of billiard tables owns Boeing, and another company called LMT, whatever that is. Oh, Lockheed Martin. All right, so the maker of billiard tables owns Boeing and Lockheed Martin. England, the Queen, head of Golden Crown Corp. England, the Queen. Do you mean Queen Elizabeth owns? She's the main shareholder. I got to get out of this conversation, Laurel. All right, Warren Buffett wants to look at Newmont Mining, and this will be the last for today. So hold your requests. All right. Oh dear. I suppose I had nothing to say about Newmont. I don't know. Hope springs eternal. The stock was a counterintuitive buy around here, and I guess that's it. I can't really give you much in the way of what's really happening in this stock. It just seems to be yo-yoing for the usual non-reasons. Gold has done, it's more than held its own lately, and I guess that's why we're seeing Newmont more than hold its own. So that is it. Let me ask you, Brian, have you made notes on all of the stocks that are on the recording today? So that, let me ask that again, Brian, have you recorded the list of stocks that I've looked at today so that I can fold up this session? And I never did find out, Dave, I'm not sure whether you just came in and kind of left or dozed off, but I'd be interested to know whether the recording from today's session goes back to the beginning when I was not recording it myself. All right, well, that is it for today in any case. And thank you for joining me. We'll do these sessions again periodically. And oh, I see. So William Cranston says that Maxar did not have an actual failure of a safety chute. That was a comment on the stock. All right, well, thank you for clarifying that. Um, and that's about it. So I'm going to blank out the screen so that I can record all of these stocks because I still haven't gotten an answer from my webmaster marketing guy on what parts of it were recorded. So I'll see you again some other time, and you all have a very good, pleasant day. Thanks for your interest and your attention.